So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh, should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the BBQ Central Show, the show where we talk about all things that are important in the world of barbecue. From big-name interviews with competitors on the barbecue circuit, grill manufacturers and pit makers, to advice on cooking brisket and ribs. You'll find it all right here on the BBQ Central Show. Your host, Greg Rempe, is a backyard barbecue and grilling fanatic and loves to talk about his passion, which many of us share together. You can learn more about barbecue and grilling by visiting the website, thbbqcentral.com. Now, let's get in the smoke. Here's your program host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome to the BBQ Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. Centralites has your life. Already in massive technical trouble for the ever-acclaimed barbecue roundtable shows. This is going to be the Ribs edition. If indeed this actually ever comes off. Trying to log into Skype right now. Just had Dan Hickson from Three Eyes Barbecue on. Looking for Robert McGee. And I am looking for... Hold on one second here. Robert McGee and... John Patty from JP Custom Smoke. So we're going to reload the Skype here and get going. Contact information, although I don't plan on taking too many calls tonight for obvious reasons, because we have a time deadline to meet and get through these segments. 216-220-0966 is the number to call, or toll-free 877-448-0433. BBQ Central Radio at gmail.com is the email address. Again, we originate from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, dare I say it, the barbecue capital of the North Coast, Cleveland, Ohio. And it looks like we have some things, good things happening here. Let me get all these guys on the line. Robert McGee. All right, now everybody is going crazy here. Got to, let's see. All right, that didn't work out either. All right, hold on a second, everybody. Everybody, let's just take a deep breath. Robert McGee. Where are you? Robert McGee. Holy moly. What a nightmare. Okay, everybody stop calling me. No, stop calling. Dan, Robert, and John Patty. Dan.
Yep, I'm here.
All right, this is going horrible, but let me see if we can add somebody to the call here.
Okay.
How do I want to do that? All right, you hang tight. I'm going to call you right back, Dan.
Okay.
This makes for great radio, by the way. Right, hold on one second. Thanks. All right, here we go. Let's try this again. We got Dan. We got John. And Robert. Call the group, and whoever's in is in this time. I don't know what else to say. There's John Patty. What's up, John?
Hey, how you doing?
I have no idea how I'm doing, to be honest.
Neither do I.
Waiting for Robert McGee. And are you listening to the show in the background there, John?
I'm sorry?
You're listening to the show in the background, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you got to turn that off immediately.
Got it.
Otherwise, you're gonna get the lag. Not Patty. Where's Dan at? Wow, this is outrageous. Okay, John, let me do this real quick. I'm gonna hang up with everybody, and I'm gonna try and get at least you and Dan up, and then we'll go from there. Hello? Wow. John, you there, buddy? John, you're listening to the computer, buddy. Let's see here. Let's do this. Price is Right it. Hello.
Hello.
Dan's there. John, you there, buddy? John. Uh-oh. John. Now this is going over very swimmingly. Huge numbers, by the way. Listening to technical difficulty abound.
Can imagine.
All right. Well, you know what? Never said this before, but fuck it. We're going to run. All right. Here we go. It's the Barbecue Ribs Roundtable. Stellar listening audience. All types of technical difficulties happening right now. John, did you turn the feed off, buddy? John,
I'm here, Greg.
John is listening. John, are you listening to the show? See, John,
Yes.
You got to turn that show off. The show is behind. Turn the feed off. Stop listening to the show.
Show's off, brother.
Okay, good. All right. So you can hear me good.
It's not working.
Oh, not good.
We're rib cooks, Greg, not IT folks.
I know. John told me in advance that he was well Skyped. See, he's listening to the delay. You know what I'm saying, Dan?
I hear you loud and
Yeah,
clear.
I know.
I can hear it in the background, the delay.
I don't know why he's John. All right.
I can hear you good.
That's kind of funny all in itself. John, pay attention. You think you're hearing me talking to you, but you're not. You need to stop listening to the show. You need to close that window and pay attention to us here on live on the feed. Dan, say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, John, but you're not paying any attention to me, buddy. All right. John's cut off. He's out of there.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
All right.
You in the penalty box?
Dan, welcome to the BBQ Central Show. Holy shit and gravy train, Batman. We're well behind. Hopefully John will understand what just happened and realize that he needs to cut that feed off. He'll call back in, but nevertheless, huge numbers. So, Dan, Three Eyes Barbecue. That's you. And you are the 2009. You finished number 5 overall in 2009 in the ribs category. So I wanted to have you and 2 other guys talk about ribs and cooking and all that stuff for competition side. We've done it with the Backyard Barbecuers the last go-around. So we'll see what we can push through here in the first segment. We were looking to break right around quarter after. So depending on how things fall out here, we'll either add these guys to the mix or it's just going to be you because I've never competed at all, and I just like to stand behind a microphone and pretend I know what I'm talking about. So, Dan, what are you cooking on?
Well, we started out cooking on WSMs. We used to cook on 2 or 3 of those. Last season, we bumped it up to a Backwoods Party, and we're still using a WSM. But for ribs, straight with the Backwoods Party. And then coming into this season, we're happy to be adding a Backwoods Fat Boy along with the party. So, a progression in cookers.
Hey, John, you there, buddy?
Hey, I think I'm back in.
Now you're not listening to the computer now. You're listening to me, right?
I hear you.
There he is. All right, John Patty is the pitmaster of JP Custom Smoke. He is the 2009 winner of the ribs category in the KCBS, so very good. We're waiting for Robert McGee, and who knows if he'll show up. But that's all right. So, John, I was just asking Dan what you cook on. Oh, see? Look what he's done. He's gone and done it again.
I'm here.
All right, look.
I'm catching a bunch of background noise.
Dan,
Sorry.
Dan, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to hang up on John altogether. I'm going to call you back. And then we're going to go, just me and you.
All right, sounds good. I'm back.
All right, here we go. All right, so easily mistaken, unfortunately. All right, so it's a progression in cookers. Before we get into the meat of the subject, no pun intended, have you ever done any like exotic kind of ribs? Just, for personal pleasure, not necessarily for competition, obviously.
It's funny. I was listening to your Backyard show that you have taped, and while I was listening to it, they asked the same question, and I thought of jerk ribs right away. I love the seasonings in jerk. The only thing I haven't used is the Jamaican wood. The name escapes me right now, but that's about as exotic as I get. Occasionally, throw in some Chinese 5-spice, because when you cook competition barbecue, those flavors get old, and you want different flavors, you want different tastes. So I'm always up for experimenting.
All right, so we're going to try this again. John Patty, you with us, buddy?
Let's try it again.
Now, John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, are you listening to the show in the background?
Yeah.
Yeah, kill that. Turn it off immediately.
It's off.
No, I can hear it. There's a window open on your computer playing the show. I can hear it. Oh, you all right now?
I hope so. Let's go again.
All right. Don't listen to the show. Rule number 1. Never listen to the show while you're on the show, because there's a 45-second delay. Got me?
Got it.
All right. What are you cooking on, buddy?
You hear yourself.
All right.
Let me see if I can get this damn thing straightened up.
Poor John. It's like, you want to string him right along, but he knows. I think we're very close to getting him back on board, I think, Dan.
I think so.
Wow.
I think you're walking him through it.
Yeah, this could be the worst thing ever. For some reason, I feel that this is probably one of the only shows that's never going to actually make it up on the podcast.
Of course. It's the one I'm on.
Of course. So no exotic ribs. Really don't have any time to talk about some of the other things. So let's get right into the pre-cooking things. Is it spares or baby backs for you, Dan?
Oh, it's spares. Spares all the way.
Have you ever tooled around with the baby backs for competition, or has always been spare ribs for you?
I've practiced with baby backs and thought about cooking them for MBN contests. I've only done 2 of those, where I hear you pretty much have to go with a baby back. But I haven't been able to get them right. The spares have always come out good for me, and that's what I've been using.
All right. And for competition purposes, how many racks are you typically cooking?
Usually 4. When I started out using 4 racks, and I've just stayed with that. You don't want too many choices. If you cook too many racks of ribs, you can run late on your turn-in window just trying to pick and choose. So I usually stick with 4.
What kind of a process do you have in regards to trimming these up? Trimming
St. Louis. Yeah, I want to take the tail off. I skin them. I don't take much of the fat off the top, and trim them down to where you're going to get you want to get all that cartilage off the side of them. That's pretty much what I do for trimming.
And you do take the membrane off?
Absolutely.
Off the backside?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be good for judges.
Right. John, are you back in, John? Yeah, that's a no.
Yeah, he's here. Hold on.
Doesn't sound like John.
Step your game up.
That's the other half.
Hey, John, are you with me, buddy?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we fully aware of what I was saying before? How you were listening to the show, but you were getting the delay feed there?
Yes.
All right. Now we're back on top. So we're going to have to kind of slide you right into the middle of things here for you. And again, this is joining us fully now, John Patty from JP Custom Smoke, 2009 category winner in ribs for Kansas City Barbecue Society. Is it spares or baby backs for you, John?
Spares all the way.
All the way. And how many are you typically cooking during a competition? How many racks?
We'll do 4.
And what's your trimming process?
We'll get rid of that membrane first, and I guess the easiest way to explain this for maybe a listener is when you're looking at the top side of the meat, I look for a grease line or a fat line and trim right down that knuckle and try to make them nice and pretty.
So you're doing the what they call the St. Louis style spare ribs?
That's correct.
All right. We'll go back to Dan Hickson here. Do you use a different kind of rub for your ribs versus the pork butts?
No, they're both
Not
the
at all.
same.
John, they're both the same for you?
Both the same.
All right. Dan, what about you?
They weren't always the same. We had started using our rub on ribs, and it did really well, and our pork wasn't doing so well. And I thought, hey, they're both pork. might as well try a rub on the pork, and that's what we went with all last year, and scores have really improved. So it's the same right now.
And how far in advance of putting these onto the cooker are you rubbing the ribs down? And we'll start with John.
Oh, I'm usually 6 hours ahead. Midnight, rub the ribs, rub the pork.
And you've never run into a particular point where the ribs have kind of turned hammy on you with that far of a rub, advance rub?
Didn't tell on me this year.
What about you, Dan?
Sorry.
I don't know. Right now I'm thinking of putting my rub on at midnight. But no, what I've been doing is I'd say about 20 minutes before they go in the cooker. What I like to see is I want to see the rub kind of melt into the meat, turn into almost a liquid, and that's when you load them in.
All right, and does anybody let the ribs come up to a warmer, I don't want to say room temperature, but do you set them out on purpose to kind of get them a little bit warmer than straight out of the cooler before you actually put them on the cooker and rubbed and all that stuff? And we'll start with Dan there.
Not really. I mean, there's so many contest competitions, and the temperature is never the same. So I take them out whenever I feel I need to get the rub to set in. Like I said, 20 or 30 minutes, and into the cooker they go.
What about you, John?
I like to set mine out hour and a half. That's coming straight out of the ice chest.
And you start your rub process there?
No, I start the rub process
that's
at
right.
midnight.
That's right, midnight. That's right. I'm sorry about that.
Go to the ice chest and start the rib about 7 o'clock in the morning and set them out about 5:30.
All right, so for the bigger cuts, obviously, this question would never necessarily seem out of line, but perhaps with ribs, this might seem a little blasphemous or left field-like. But any of you guys brine, or have you tried to inject your ribs for competition? And we'll start with Dan there.
I'm not doing it currently. I did actually marinate with Fab and apple juice a couple years back, and we didn't get bad scores. But since we've moved away from that, our scores have actually got better.
What about you, John? You brining or you injecting ribs?
No, neither. Just rubbing.
Ever tried it?
No.
Does it seem kind of crazy in your estimation?
To me, it does. I've heard of people doing it, but a little too much flavor, I guess.
Talking with John Patty from JP Custom Smoke and Dan Hickson from Three Eyes Barbecue Competition Cooking Team. I know we're kind of rushed here through the first section, but any other preparation items that you do that I haven't asked you guys about yet? And we'll start with John.
I don't know. I missed Rob's. What's he do?
He said it was very top secret, and he's not giving that information out unless you were on the line.
I understand.
Dan, what about you? Anything that you do that we haven't discussed here up front?
I don't think so. I mean, just in general, I like to keep ribs simple. I don't like to do a lot of things to them. So it's really just trimming, putting the rub on, and getting them in the cooker. Keeping it simple.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break here. I'm going to try and actually add the third member of our illustrious panel team that is taking a little while to form up here, but I think we're in good shape. So you two, I'm actually going to hang up on you guys, and I'm going to call you back, hopefully with Robert McGee as well. So I'm going to disconnect with you guys. Stand right by here for the break. And let me tell you a little bit about the Ribolator. Don't forget, it's out now for the 22.5-inch Weber kettle grills, 22.5-inch ugly drum smokers as well. Info@ribolator.com is the email address. Ribolator, RIBOLATOR.com is the website. Go ahead and order it up now. Plus, you can get the spit rod and motor if you need it. It's a one-stop shop. Ribolator.com also expoing down at the HPBA in Orlando this week. So check them out if you're down in that neck of woods. 22.5-inch Weber kettle Ribolators. Get yours today. Stand by. More of the Barbecue Roundtable Ribs edition coming up. Centralites, are you having marriage troubles? Are your kids unruly and don't listen? Then you need the Ribolator, because great barbecue will always bring the family together, and the Ribolator always cooks great award-winning barbecue. You can try it free for 30 days, and if your family life doesn't improve, just send it back. The Ribolator even pays return shipping. But you need to take that first step. Visit Ribolator.com to get started, or call 206-999-0962. Don't you deserve a happy barbecue family?
The future of barbecue is already here at thebarbecueguru.com. From the amazing guru that monitors and controls the temperatures of any charcoal, wood, or electric pit to the Caldera Tallboy knockdown smoker. Yes, it breaks down and stores flat, yet it's still a robust, sturdy, portable cooker and smokehouse. It also serves as an efficient temperature-controlled convection oven using wood or charcoal. The Tallboy is designed to fit all catering pans and can be used as a warming oven. You can cook in any style you choose. Make ribs, chicken, jerky, vegetables, smoked cheese, whatever you want. Take it to KCBS competitions and unload it from the trunk of your car. TheBarbecueGuru.com is where you'll find the Caldera 3-Bay Caterer. It's stainless steel and uses charcoal or sterno for chafing purposes. And it doubles as a 3-bay sink or wash station with hot water and knocks down in seconds with no tools required for transportation and storage. The future of barbecue is here at TheBarbecueGuru.com. That's www.thebbqguru.com or call 1-800-288-GURU. Introducing Cosmos Q. Cosmos injections and marinades use only the finest ingredients, and they mix easily, never clotting or caking. From our beef injection to our pork injection, you're guaranteed to wow your friends, family, and judges. And don't forget to check out our newest marinade, Cosmos Chicken Soak, for that moist and tender chicken you're gonna love. You can find all of Cosmos award-winning products at CosmosQ.com. Cosmos Q, the new generation. Taste the difference. Barbecue fans travel from all over the country to learn the secrets of real pit barbecue from Grand Champion Pitmaster Conrad Haskins. Now take your skills to the next level with a Barbecue Institute Pitmaster class. You'll learn how to make sauces, rubs, and smoke mouth-watering barbecue every time you cook. Your new skills will impress friends and family, and some of our graduates have gone on to success with barbecue businesses and TV fame. For more information, visit bbqclass.com.
Forget going from site to site to get all your barbecue and grilling supplies and make your first and final stop at fredsmusicandbarbecue.com. In the market for a new barbecue pit, we have all the big name brands like Big Green Egg and more. As a matter of fact, Fred's is staffed by eggheads and carries all the parts and accessories for the Big Green Egg. More of a pellet head, you say? Fred's is the pellet grill superstore with grills in stock from Traeger, Green Mountain, and Country Smokers from Louisiana Grills. Fred also carries smokers from Cook Shack, Bradley, and Weber as well as a full lineup of charcoal grills. And once you're outfitted with your new smoker or grill, you'll find absolutely everything you need to make your barbecue or grilling experience a success. Fred is also the creator and distributor of Tasty Licks barbecue products, including their great line of rubs, spices, and sauces. You gotta try them. You can also get your hands on a full lineup of marinades, accessories, lump charcoal, wood chips, pellets, chunks, and even the great grilling tools from Stephen Reichland of Barbecue U fame. Check Fred out on the web at fredsmusicandbbq.com or check out their fully stocked showroom in beautiful Shillington, PA.
Get in the smoke. It's the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, we are back. It's the BBQ Central Show right here on the BBQ Central Radio Networks. This portion of the show brought to you by Yoder Smoky Mountain Barbecue, the leading online distributor of Meadow Creek barbecue equipment. These makers of barbecue pig smokers and roasters and chicken cookers and grills, handcrafted in the Amish country of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And their goal is to give you outstanding value for the price, help you enjoy easy and profitable barbecues for years to come, and also carrying a complete line of wonderful rubs and sauces. Check them out on the interwebs at Serious BBQs. That's BBQS, SeriousBBQs.com as we get back to the Barbecue Roundtable Show. Joining me is John Patty from JP Custom Smoke and Dan Hickson of Three Eyes Barbecue. No luck on Robert McGee. Bringing him up for this portion of the show. So, guys, appreciate you sticking with me, and we look forward to a better two-thirds of the second half of the show here. Let's move ahead into the cooking section. We have everything rubbed up and trimmed and all that good stuff. You know what, John, I meant to ask you, what are you cooking on?
I custom built my own pit last winter.
Is it a JP Custom Smoker?
It's a JP Custom Smoker sitting on a Jambo pit trailer.
Ooh.
The pit resembles a Jambo pit a whole lot.
How does it cook?
5 grand champions last year, so I can't complain.
There you go. All right, so John, we'll go ahead and start with you. What kind of wood are you using for smoke flavor and for fire?
I run all straight pecan and royal oak. 50-50 blend, probably.
You ever toyed around with other woods at all, or has it always been pecan for you?
Oh, I've tried it all. Pecan just seems to be settled and worked for us a couple times, so we stuck with it.
What about you, Dan?
I use a mix of hickory and cherry.
Ever tried anything else that you found was not working very well and decided to switch away from?
I tried a bunch of wood. I tried anything from apple to white oak, red oak. And I don't know if anything was bad or if it was more that I just liked the hickory and cherry better. So I stuck with that.
All right, what temperature do you guys like to keep your pits at when you're cooking the ribs? And we'll start with John.
Oh, about 265, 270.
Dan?
I'm much lower than that. Somewhere around 220 to 230 is my range.
So, John, let me ask, if you're 265, I guess technically speaking, and I know competition barbecue is a little bit different than what people would technically classify as barbecue temperatures in their backyard due to time constraints and turn-ins and all that good stuff. I mean, did you cook at a lower temperature at some point in previous competitions and found that the higher temperature works for you? Is it just a matter of trying to get things done quicker? What's the idea behind the higher temperature?
Well, the last cook we did a few weeks ago in Great Bend, we went low and slow. That's the first time we've been skunked in 5 years, so if that says anything, I'll never go low and slow again.
Does you find that it adds a better texture or something that you're looking for in particular that the low temperature doesn't?
I actually think it gives me more flavor and better color.
Dan, never thought about going higher?
I think it's really dependent upon your pit. I noticed a difference between cooking ribs in a WSM and the backwoods. And when I have cooked on a friend of mine's stick burner, the ribs took about 8 hours to cook. So I think it really depends on your cooker. For the backwoods, no, I'm happy with that temperature.
All right, so at some point during the cook, are you, and I want to kind of these questions, don't go any farther ahead than the actual question itself, but at some point during the cook, are you foiling your ribs? And we'll start with Dan.
Yes.
When is that point? Are you looking for color? Is it just a time thing for you? How do you figure it?
That's a tougher one. It's towards the end of the cook, obviously, but as far as the exact time period, I don't really know. It must be a mixture of how they look and how they feel before I foil them. And it's at a different point every cook.
What about you, John?
I foil within 3 hours every cook.
Are you looking, is it just time for you, or are you also looking for like a color? I've had some other competitors on with this show saying that, they're looking for a color first before they put it in the foil. That doesn't have anything to do for you?
Color's most important, but normally everything kicks off around 3 hours.
Does anybody follow a 3-2-1 method? That seems to be a pretty popular method out there on the internet forums.
Not me.
Okay, good. And in unison. Very good. Both of you owe me a Coca-Cola, ice cold, preferably. Are you adding anything to the foil prior to closing it up? And, of course, why I asked this is if you watch the TLC Barbecue Pitmasters, evidently Johnny Trigg has stock in Parquet margarine, as well as some of the other people. You guys adding globs and globs of Parquet or honey or brown sugar or anything like that? And we'll start with Dan.
Yes.
To what?
Just about everything you said.
Is that something that you have evolved into, or has that always been your part and parcel?
I am always evolving. I change about one thing every competition. So, yeah, I've definitely evolved into that, and I'm sure by next competition I'll be evolving towards something else.
What about you, John?
No butter, no way. A little brown sugar, maybe a little honey. Butter's out.
Butter's out because a lot of people are using butter and you're trying to set yourself apart?
I think with the wood and the charcoal, you get enough flavor. You don't need that butter.
All right, how long are you keeping the ribs wrapped then after you wrap them up, John?
Total cooks 4.5, around 265.
And Dan?
The question was how long are they wrapped, Greg?
Yeah, once you wrap them up, how long do you keep them wrapped for a specific period of time then after that?
Like I said, mine varies as far as the wrap, but I've had them wrapped as long as 2 hours and as short of a time as 20 minutes.
20 minutes, all right. In your professional opinion, When do you know that your ribs are done? Or you look for that? Everybody says you pick that rack up from the middle and you see that crack going down the center of the meat. Is that when you tell all the ribs are done? How do you know? Is it just a time thing? What's your poison? And we'll start with John.
I never know. I'm just getting lucky.
It's always a guess for you?
No, actually, I look for a hairline crack, and actually, to explain that maybe to a listener, it's just a hairline in between your bone, and if there's a crack and it's a real defined line, and that's what I go for. Sometimes I hit it, sometimes I miss it.
Is the bigger the crack mean the more you've overshot what you're looking for, or does that not have anything to do with it?
A big crack means she's way overdone, brother.
What about you, Dan?
I use two methods. One is the bend test. You pick it up with tongs somewhere in the middle,
Yep.
and I guess that's where I see the crack start to form, and that's really feel. And as a backup, I also use a toothpick between the bones and the meat. Now, that's hard to explain, but I don't know, what you're looking for is a consistency of, maybe warm butter through with the toothpick.
Now, it seems with the evolution of all these great technical gadgets, you have these automatic temperature control devices and these remote thermometers that allow you to get sleep and all this other stuff, multitask during the cook. I've heard of a few people actually sticking thermal pens or other instant read meat thermometers in between the meat on the rack of rib to take an internal temperature of a rib. It seems patently ridiculous to me. However, I have no idea what I'm talking about, so we'll go to the professionals for their opinion. Dan, ever tempt a rib?
I have when I'm cooking at home, and I haven't really found a method that would find me the same product using the temperature. So for me, bend test and toothpick's the way to go.
Did you have a target internal temperature you were shooting for?
Well, I thought it would be similar to pork. I was thinking somewhere like 195 would be the way to go, but it's just not the same.
What about you, John? Ever tempt a rack of ribs?
A few years back, I tried it. Never did work for me, but normally around 180, I was thinking a rib would be tender, but you just have to go by sight and feel.
Certainly, you guys, well revered on the competition circuit with your success in the rib categories. I mean, you see what a lot of guys are doing. Do you know a lot of people that temp out ribs? John?
No.
Dan?
I've asked a lot of people a lot of questions, and I don't think I've ever asked anybody that, nor have I seen them do it.
You're welcome. Now you can ask that question. It's a conversation starter. It's an icebreaker with the chicks.
Add that to my repertoire.
Yeah. You want to pick up chicks? Hey, you temp your ribs? No problem. You're welcome. Anybody set a sauce or a glaze on the ribs prior to taking them off the cooker? Obviously, it should go without saying that you've removed them at least somewhat from the foil when you're doing this. But anybody setting a sauce or glaze before you take them off the cooker? And we'll start back with Dan.
No, not before I take them off the cooker. I mean, I've tried various approaches, but really just sitting there with sauce the last minute is enough for me.
What about you, John? You setting anything on there?
No, we try to get them pulled and let them rest about a half hour, and then we'll go back on with no foil and a glaze for 6-7 minutes maybe.
Okay, yeah, I guess the follow-up question to that was when you actually take them off, are you leaving them wrapped in foil if you haven't unfoiled them, or are you resting them for a certain period of time? Obviously, John just kind of answered that, but what about you, Dan? Are you looking for a specified rest time on these like you would for a pork butt or a brisket?
Not at all. I don't like ribs to rest at all. I think they lose some of their moisture. So for me, going directly from the cooker to slicing them and into the box.
Or is there any other cooking items that we haven't covered here during this portion of the show? And we'll start with John.
Well, I missed the first half of the show, I think, with this crazy computer, but I don't think so.
John, or I'm sorry, Dan, any other items that you do during the cooking portion of the cook?
Not anything I really do, but with the equipment, I really believe a water cooker with a water pan is the way to go with ribs. And I'm guessing John does not have that in his, but obviously it's worked good for him.
All right, John, I'm trying to locate my list of other questions here that we had up front here. Hold on one second. Let me reach behind me. All right. I think we tried to plow through them. You were cooking on your own homemade cooker. I guess a question you can answer here before we go to the second break. Have you ever, this doesn't have to necessarily relate to competition unless you've done it on purpose, but have you trialed any type of exotic rib before in the past, like a perhaps a lamb rib or a veal rib or anything like that?
No, I have not.
Something you're interested in?
No, not really.
Sounds like a no to me.
I've heard Stephen Reichlin say that fish ribs are very good done on the barbecue as well. He would know, I guess, though. Here's a quick question here, unrelated, but wanted to get your thoughts on it since you're both competitors. There's been some talk there within the KCBS, especially February timeframe, about the potential allowance of propane gas cookers into competitions. Really, you don't have to get it too extensive if you don't want to, but are you in favor or not in favor of allowing propane cookers in, Dan?
Very much in favor of absolutely everything. They could allow crock pots for all I care.
What about you, John?
I disagree.
Why?
Stay up all night and tend that fire like I do, or get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go high heat.
So,
Greg, if I could just add something.
Go ahead.
Strong viewpoints on both those, but my perspective is I want the best barbecue. So if I can get beat by something else, so be it.
Some of the counter arguments to what John has said is the fact that you have, for instance, the FE cookers or the Traeger type cookers where it's pellet fired, so technically you're not necessarily breaking a law because it is a wood-fired fuel or a wood-fueled fire, for instance, but you're setting a thermostatic control. You're not having to tend to fire, similar to any of those guys that use the Gurus or the automatic pin temperature control devices, those Stokers and whatnot. Do you not find that to be as annoying as letting a gas cooker then in, John?
Well, I own 2 FEs, and I respect those fellows that can cook on them and win championships with them. I bought 2 of them, cooked on them a couple of years ago. I couldn't do what they did. Like I say, I respect those guys that can cook on them. I just feel that I pull better flavor off a stick burner.
But do you find that, is there that big of a gap and difference between what a propane cooker does and what an FE cooker does as far as how you're setting a temperature and not having to tend to fire like you are?
Well, I do believe a propane cooker will give you more of a smoke ring if you've ever played with one. That's because of the nitrates in the gas. I think you'll get more of a smoke ring, which maybe a lot of people don't understand or realize that, and I don't understand half of it, but we've played with them, and you pull a smoke ring, and I think that's what a lot of judges look at, and how you get judged is like, hey, that's a pretty smoke ring, but how'd you get it?
Well, luckily, we all know that judges don't look for smoke rings, so no reason to worry about that. All right, so we've covered the cooking section here. We'll take one more break, come back with the post-cook, and any type of plugs that you guys have going on, upcoming competitions that you want to promote. So go ahead and stick around here with me for just one more second, and we'll come back for the post-cook events. You are listening to the BBQ Central Show right here on the BBQ Central Radio Networks. It's the Pork Ribs Roundtable Edition. Stand by. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show.
The future of barbecue is already here at thebarbecueguru.com. From the amazing guru that monitors and controls the temperatures of any charcoal, wood, or electric pit to the Caldera Tallboy knockdown smoker. Yes, it breaks down and stores flat, yet it's still a robust, sturdy, portable cooker and smokehouse. It also serves as an efficient temperature-controlled convection oven using wood or charcoal. The Tallboy is designed to fit all catering pans and can be used as a warming oven. You can cook in any style you choose. Make ribs, chicken, jerky, vegetables, smoked cheese, whatever you want. Take it to KCBS competitions and unload it from the trunk of your car. TheBarbecueGuru.com is where you'll find the Caldera 3-Bay Caterer. It's stainless steel and uses charcoal or sterno for chafing purposes. And it doubles as a 3-bay sink or wash station with hot water and knocks down in seconds with no tools required for transportation and storage. The future of barbecue is here at TheBarbecueGuru.com. That's www.thebbqguru.com or call 1-800-288-GURU.
Barbecue fans travel from all over the country to learn the secrets of real pit barbecue from Grand Champion Pitmaster Conrad Haskins. Now take your skills to the next level with a Barbecue Institute Pitmaster class. You'll learn how to make sauces, rubs, and smoke mouth-watering barbecue every time you cook. Your new skills will impress friends and family, and some of our graduates have gone on to success with barbecue businesses and TV fame. For more information, visit bbqclass.com.
Centralites, you having marriage troubles? Your kid's unruly and don't listen? Then you need the Ribbolator, because great barbecue will always bring the family together, and the Ribbolator always cooks great award-winning barbecue. You can try it free for 30 days, and if your family life doesn't improve, just send it back. Ribbolator even pays return shipping. But you need to take that first step. Visit Ribbolator.com to get started or call 206-999-0962. Don't you deserve a happy barbecue family?
Forget going from site to site to get all your barbecue and grilling supplies and make your first and final stop at fredsmusicandbarbecue.com. In the market for a new barbecue pit, we have all the big name brands like Big Green Egg and more. As a matter of fact, Fred's is staffed by eggheads and carries all the parts and accessories for the Big Green Egg. More of a pellet head, you say? Fred's is the pellet grill superstore with grills in stock from Traeger, Green Mountain, and Country Smokers from Louisiana Grills. Fred also carries smokers from Cook Shack, Bradley, and Weber as well as a full lineup of charcoal grills. And once you're outfitted with your new smoker or grill, you'll find absolutely everything you need to make your barbecue or grilling experience a success. Fred is also the creator and distributor of Tasty Licks barbecue products, including their great line of rubs, spices, and sauces. You gotta try them. You can also get your hands on a full lineup of marinades, accessories, lump charcoal, wood chips, pellets, chunks, and even the great grilling tools from Stephen Reichland of Barbecue U fame. Check Fred out on the web at fredsmusicandbbq.com or check out their fully stocked showroom in beautiful Shillington, PA.
Introducing Cosmos Q. Cosmos injections and marinades use only the finest ingredients, and they mix easily, never clotting or caking. From our beef injection to our pork injection, you're guaranteed to wow your friends, family, and judges. And don't forget to check out our newest marinade, Cosmos Chicken Soak, for that moist and tender chicken you're gonna love. You can find all of Cosmos award-winning products at cosmosq.com. Cosmos Q, the new generation. Taste the difference. Big name interviews. Coverage of competition barbecue. And the only host willing to give his honest opinion on all topics in the world of barbecue. It's the BBQ Central Show. BBQ Central Show.
All right, we are back. It's the BBQ Central Show. Pork Ribs Roundtable Edition. This portion of the show brought to you by D-Dog's Barbecue Rub. You know you love D-Dog's Barbecue Rubs, but would you like to buy them locally? Hell yes, you would. Who wants to pay the shipping? You need to do Darren a solid. You need to send him the name and info of your mom and pop store, all the places that sell the barbecue rubs and sauces. D-A-R-I-N, Darren at ddogsbbq.com. He will take care of the rest. He'll get you hooked up. If you're not afraid of shipping charges, visit his website, ddogsbbq.com. And as we all know, D-Dog's Barbecue Rub, better than ketchup. We rejoin the Barbecue Roundtable Ribs Edition. We have JP Custom Smokes John Patty joining us. We also have Dan Hickson from Three Eyes Barbecue joining us as well. Gentlemen, thanks for hanging with me through the break, and it seems that I owe John $5. I'm not very happy about that, I got to be honest. It's an inside joke that nobody knows about, but that's all right. All right, so we've cooked the ribs. They've gone ahead and rested their particular periods of time if you're so inclined to let them rest. Dan isn't, of course. So we'll get into the post-cooking events here. Regarding turn-in boxes, and I'll start with John here. How you building your box? You putting green guy? You leafy green guy? What's your poison there, John?
Hey, that's all my wife. I try to stay out when that stuff starts going on, but we pretty much go with parsley all the way. I get ran out. If I start stuffing boxes, I get through on the outside.
Do a lot of gentlemen pitmasters use their lovely lady wives as their box builder? Is that a task that women seem to excel in, or am I walking a thin line of blasphemy?
No, they should. If they're not, they're better than we are.
Have you evolved into garnish, John? Have you gone to garnish because a lot of other teams are using it to win, or were you one of the trendsetters that started that back in the day, or what's your deal with that?
Oh no, you should have seen my first box. It was lettuce. I'll send you a picture sometime. You'll get a good kick out of this one.
And we'll put it up on the forum.
It'll be a blog, all right.
What about you, Dan? Are you a putting green guy? Are you a leafy lettuce guy? What's your deal?
Well, it's really up to my wife. Tracy does some of the best boxes I've ever seen, and definitely putting greens is what she likes to work with. So we usually stick with that. Although we have dabbled in lettuce as well. It depends what looks better at the store.
Have you built boxes yourself, Dan?
Yeah, it's not pretty. And when we've placed well, we've placed despite the box, not because of the box. When I'm making them.
All right. So a quick follow-up question that I wasn't planning on asking, but I don't know if you guys have cooked other competition circuits that are not KCBS that don't include garnish in the box. Are you partial to that KCBS thing where the garnish separates it from some of the other sanctioning bodies, and it's all part of the process, and you need to be well-rounded cook, and that includes garnishing the box, or would you rather see it go away? John?
I wouldn't bother me to see it go away. I've never cooked the IBCA, but I'd love to. Things I hear, but then I hear things that stuff slides around on aluminum foil too. So I'd like to try one someday.
What about you, Dan? Would you like to see garnish get out of its what I call limbo state, where it's listed as optional, but everybody knows that's a bunch of BS? If you're not garnishing your box, you're probably not going to do as well as all the other guys. Would you like to see it voted in or out altogether?
You know, it doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. There is something to be said for it holding the meat in place, though. I can see where that could be an issue if you're not using it.
How long will it take to set up a box? I mean, you've watched your wives do it a number of times. How long do you think that they're taking to do one box, like your rib box, for instance, Dan?
I mean, you're looking at a half hour for our boxes. You know, you got to wash the greens. You got to dry them out a little bit. You got to pull the parsley apart and stick them in the box. So it does take a while. And, you know, when you get talking to somebody, it can take as long as an hour for a box.
What about you, John?
We lock the door 25, 30 minutes.
Seems like a long time. Is that a long time, do you think, John?
It's way too long for me, but she's doing it. I leave.
What about you, Dan?
No, it is. I mean, it's a long time. And one of the worst things that could happen for us is when we're still doing boxes and start to do turn-ins. I like to get those done ahead of time.
Anyone, do you rewrap the ribs in foil after you've taken them off, John?
No. Once ours are taken out of the foil, they go back to the pit with the glaze and go straight to the box.
And you obviously don't rewrap them for any reason after they've been taken off, Dan?
Not at all.
Okay. How do you
That's
choose? I've always found this fascinating. You're cooking 4 racks of ribs. How do you choose the ribs from the slabs to turn in? And we'll start with John.
I've used all 4 racks before. Taste, tenderness.
Have you ever tasted a rib and been like, you know what? That's the one I should have put in the box?
No, we try to take care of that ahead of time.
What about you, Dan?
I mean, for me, taste is uniform. I mean, that's what I'm shooting for in the cooker and the seasoning process. So I'm shooting for an even taste, and I get that. Really what it comes down to is when I'm cutting it, I cut all 4 racks of ribs all the time. And I can kind of feel with the blade on what's going to be a good rib and what's not. And, I mean, I will taste it, but it's more for the tenderness aspect of it is how I'm choosing it.
How much or how many ribs are you typically putting in a box? Is it 8?
For me, it's as many as I can fit in there comfortably. The boxes aren't all the same size. I've gone as few as 6 and as many as 12.
How about you, John? Is it always a standard number, or do you fit as many as you can in with the box given?
7's our magic number.
All right. Now, when you cut them out, do you single bone them, or do you do what they call the Cadillac cuts, where you're cutting from either side of the bone, John?
We do both. Just depends on how well the rib cooks up. If it's bad, I'm not going to give you a lot of meat.
What about you, Dan?
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
You know, we've cooked a couple MBN too, and then with there I get a little I change things up. I actually do a double bone section, but we haven't done well with that. KCBS is I don't do anything fancy. It's just a cut right in the middle of the meat between the bones.
Now, will the turn-ins usually come from, well, I guess John kind of answered this already, but do you have more times than not, will your turn-ins come from one slab, or is it almost always a cornucopia from the number of racks that you've cooked for that day, Dan?
I'd say a lot of my answers are it varies according to the racks I'm cooking. More often than not, it's more than one slab that goes in the box.
John, more often than not, is it more than one slab for you as well then?
Oh yeah, it's two at least. I'm taking the best of the best.
And is there anything else that you're doing as you're kind of getting ready to turn in those ribs? You hitting them with sauce right before you close the box, or are you putting a nice coat of shoe polish on them to get them all shiny? What's the last minute things you do before you close that box up and give it a run? Start with John.
We just touch up with parsley. That's there's no, after it's sauced and comes off the pit, there's no more saucing involved. It's get them in the box and look the box over and touch it up with parsley.
Now, John, is the sauce that you're using to glaze that, is that a specially developed sauce for ribs in particular, or is that one that you're also using for pork as well?
I use the same sauce on pork, same on ribs.
Same on brisket as well?
I don't know what to do on brisket. I was hoping maybe Dan would give me a pointer.
What do you think, Dan? You going to give a pointer to John?
If he's talking about me and brisket, he obviously hasn't looked at my stats. I was watching the Pitmaster show for help there.
Touch-ups for you, Dan. Anything last minute? You hitting it with a glaze, or are you doing something else there?
I've tried lots of stuff. Currently, what I'm at right now is just touch it up with sauce. Get rid of any fingerprints or anything. We've tried spritzing with apple juice and that kind of thing, but I think it does more harm than good.
Are you using a special formulated sauce when you're painting them up just for the ribs?
No, I just throw some sauce together and just hope for the best. No, I'm just kidding, Greg. It's a special formulation that we use, but it's the same for ribs and for pork.
All right, now outside of competition, do you think this is kind of a generally broad-stroked question, so I don't usually like to ask these, but why not? I mean, do you think, in terms of the general public, that they have any idea what a good rib is when they actually bite in and taste one? We'll start with Dan.
It's a hard question. I don't even know how to answer that. Good rib for competition? No, the general public has no idea. But everybody knows what a good rib is to them. But a lot of their opinions are shaped by the restaurant chains. So
do you think that the correct answer is merely just a subjective thing and it's different from person to person, and it doesn't have to be a set of criteria?
I think, if you're going to define a good rib, then you got to teach someone what a good rib is. Otherwise, they're just learning from what they've had in the past.
John,
how's that for a vague answer?
Very vague. I appreciate it. John, does the general public have any idea what a good rib is?
I really don't think so. Normally at the end of the competition, when we're done, we'll give away and maybe toss a rib to a team here and there, and kind of share each other's ribs. And when people say, "Wow," you know that they've had restaurant style ribs, which you can't compare the restaurant style rib with the competition cook's rib, because you can't cook volume when we're only doing 3 or 4 racks. So it's hard to compare the two, but I think most people that do try the competition rib, they're usually in wow.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the closing parting shots segment. Typically, this is where I would like to say you thank me for having you on, but considering that hellacious mess that we call the first segment, no need to thank me for that disaster. But also, any competitions, any websites, anything you want to promote, feel free to go ahead and get your plugs in right now. And we'll start with John Patty from JP Custom Smoke.
Yeah, Greg, I'd like to invite everybody over to our website. It's just a small site. We're kind of getting it fired up right now. It's jpcustomsmoke.com. I have a son-in-law that is linked to us. and it's called bbqteamsonline.com. He's working on getting your team online. Go to the link, check it out. It's really unique, I think. There's some couple guys out there I'd like to thank because they backed us last year, and that would be Cosmos Q out of Oklahoma. We're currently using his product. Doug and Carol Ritter out of Point, Texas. Met them a few years back, and Doug didn't think I could cook a rib, so he gave me a few pointers, and I took what he had and what I was trying to do, and we come out okay over the last couple of years. Like I say, a lot of luck. We're going to be in Little Rock at the next contest. Really don't have too many planned this year, but I just finished a pit up, and it's going to be on a mini trailer, and it's the guy that owns it is CNC Wood. He's out of eastern Kansas. He'll be there as a wood vendor. Check this pit out. Tell me what you think. And another guy right here in Wichita, Kansas, owns a restaurant, Derek Cochran from Pig In, Pig Out. He's also going to be in Little Rock, but I'd like to personally thank Derek because when I first started cooking, he laughed at me, hung a lot of trash, helped me out, and I appreciate everything the man did for me.
All right, Dan, how about you? Dan Hickson from Three Eyes Barbecue.
Well, first of all, I do want to thank you, Greg. This has been a lot of fun. I hope to do this again sometimes. And thanks, John, as well. I appreciate you getting on the call. It's fun talking to you. I want to just mention our website. It's a one-stop shop, www.3eyzbbq.com. And we have a blog up there, a list of our retailers, and you can order directly from the site. You can reach me at dan@3eyesbbq.com. And last, I want to thank my sponsor, the Barbecue Guru.
All right, there they are. John Patty, JP Custom Smoke. He was the overall winner of the ribs category in 2009. And also we had Dan Hickson from Three Eyes Barbecue, overall number 5 in ribs 2009 there for Kansas City Barbecue Society. John and Dan, appreciate you coming on tonight. Again, apologize for the technical issues that we had up front, but I think we were able to rescue at least 2/3 of the show here. So continued success, and we'll talk to you both soon.
All right, thank you.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks, Greg.
There they are. John Patty and Dan Hickson. Excuse me, where's my pistol? I think I'm going to go shoot myself. Oh, my God. Oh, that was wonderful. All right. Well, thank goodness that they were able to hang in with me. John had a little issue with, let me tell you, it's tricky, and it happened to my mom. Not the last time she was on, but the time before. If you have the show playing while you're also doing the show, you can very easily get caught up into listening to the show, which is 45 seconds behind what we're actually doing live here via Barbecue Central Studios here on the Barbecue Central Radio Network. So I'm sure we will be well versed to take care of that issue for future shows coming up. Don't forget, next week we have the Chicken Edition with Kelly Wirtz from Four Legs Up Barbecue, Joe Amore from Smoky Mountain Smokers, and Troy Black from LearnToQ.com. After that, we have the Pork Butt Roundtable with Little Pigtown, Butcher Barbecue, and theslabs.com. That's on the 23rd. And rounding out on the 30th, we have the Brisket Roundtable with Pellet Envy, I Smell Smoke, and Iowa Smoky D's, kind of like a rematch of the last Showdown Cook there in 2009 for Team of the Year. So that's what we have lined up. Thanks again to my guests, the Pork Rib Roundtable guys, Dan Hickson from Three Eyes Barbecue, 3eyesbbq.com, and John Patty from JP Custom Smoke. Great insight. Always love the difference of technique and opinion and all that great stuff. That's what makes this show possible. So thanks again to those guys. Appreciate it. Forrest Dillmore coming up here just about 3 or 4 minutes past the top of the hour. Stay tuned for After Dark. Thanks for listening to the Barbecue Central Pork Rib Roundtable Edition. We'll see you here after the news at the top of the hour. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.